Good afternoon, everybody. This is David Searns with Haley Marketing, and welcome to today's Lunch with Haley webinar. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, strategy, and we're going to specifically look at the best marketing strategies for a staffing company. Now, as you might guess, that's a bit of a trick headline. There's never one size fits all, but it's very interesting because so frequently when people reach out to me and they talk to our team, one of the questions they ask is, what's the one thing I should do? What's the best marketing for my company? Or David, if you had a very limited budget, where would you put your money? And there's just not a single answer to that question. We're going to talk about today how you figure out not just the right way to market, but also bigger picture, the right strategies to be focusing on, and then how your marketing has to complement some of those strategies. So we're going to first take a look at some bad news. And the bad news is, as I said, there's not one size fits all solution to marketing. I've seen a lot of people are really pushing it's all digital marketing and everything has to be online. And they like that because it's quick. Relatively speaking, it appears to be lower cost than other alternatives. And it is absolutely a good component in your marketing mix. But digital alone is not enough. Sales calls alone are not enough. Direct marketing alone is not enough. And really, if you think about marketing strategy, what we're thinking about is the best ways to accomplish our goals. And if you think about growing your staffing company, there's lots of different ways you might grow your staffing business. I mean, yes, one way is I can try to increase market share. Let's get on the phones, let's sell more, make more calls. Once upon a time in the past, visit more clients, but it can just be trying to dominate our local market or the industry we recruit for. But that's not the only strategy to grow your business. You might say, I'm going to increase client share. How do I deepen relationships with my existing clients so that I get a larger percentage of their business? How do I cross-sell the services I'm providing? So if I'm doing industrial, now maybe I can sell clerical and professional. Or if I'm doing engineering, maybe I can get into IT, depending on what my company does. How can I go from one department to another in the organization or from one facility to another? So this is sort of getting that share of wallet for each client. And if you can project a little bit to where we're going to go today, if you think about trying to get new customers versus getting more business from existing customers, completely different marketing strategies. How about product superiority? So this is something that's really difficult to achieve in staffing is how do I create real differentiation? How do I get beyond saying, well, I know everyone tells you our service is better, but ours really is, or we ask the right questions, or we know our candidates better. There's so many common ways to differentiate staffing companies that it's very difficult to stand out. But the title of this is product superiority. And in marketing strategy, way back a million years ago when I was in graduate school, and they teach the fundamentals of marketing strategy, they teach something called the 4 P's of marketing. So I don't have a slide on this, so I'll just kind of review them verbally. The 4 P's are product, price, place, and promotion. Now, just to quickly review what that means. So product is the definition of what you sell. You might say our product is temporary staffing. You might say our product is direct hire, executive recruiting. You might say our product is workforce solutions. You might say our product is talent management. You might say our product is consulting. So the way you define your product will differentiate your business. It also helps define the clients you're going to go after and the types of solutions you're going to provide. But you also might look at product differently. Even if I went inside just, hey, our product is temporary help. Well, how do I provide that temporary help? Is it remote? Is it on site? Is it only long-term projects? Is it last-minute fill-ins? Might be all of the above. But when you think about your differentiating your business, that product, redefining what you do, we watched our whole industry do it over the last 30 years. We were a temp help industry. Then we became temporary staffing. Then we dropped temporary. We just became staffing. We're about all things hiring. Then we became workforce solutions. On the HR side, it was about personnel, then human resources, and then now the subset, talent acquisition. Our clients are changing how they define product. Our industry is changing how we define product. But as you look to create differentiation to grow, how will you change it? We're seeing that happen now with online staffing. Uber was probably the biggest success story as a version of online staffing. We don't think of them as a staffing company, but if you attend the Gigi conference from SIA, they're the biggest player in gig staffing. So where will your business go in the next 5 or 10 years? That product superiority that I spent a lot of time talking about, it's a great way to create differentiation. Another P that we're not going to talk about today is pricing. And it's sort of related to product superiority in that, how do you price your services? Is it based on a markup on the hours? That's how most of us do it. Or a percentage of salary fee. That's how most of us do it. But I talked to somebody yesterday in home care, and it's a fixed hourly rate. No matter what kind of person I'm hiring, they charge me the same hourly rate. They never got into markups and bill rates. They just talked about, here's our rate for service. So as you look at your pricing, you can change how much you charge. You can change the methodology you use to charge, and you can also change the terms of payment. And those are all different ways to differentiate on pricing. Then there's place, which is where we deliver services. And so if we'd been having this presentation 1 year ago, for almost everybody listening in, place would have meant we sell to our clients by visiting their offices. We deliver talent to our clients' sites. That's how staffing works. Enter a pandemic. All of us sell remote. We've learned to be good at selling remote. We recruit remote. And now we have the ability for a lot of jobs to supply talent that can be working anywhere in the world. So has place of how we distribute our services, place of how we sell, has it changed? How will you use place to create differentiation? And then the last P is your promotion. And that's most of what today's presentation is about, is all the different ways to promote your business, different strategies. So those are the 4 Ps, but that's all part of that product superiority as a growth strategy for your business, creating a product that's unlike anybody else. And there's another one that's very common in the industry, geographic expansion. Let's go to new markets. Maybe it's a contiguous market near where you live today. Maybe you're following a client to another geographic location where they have a facility and you're going to go staff for them and then grow in that market. Or maybe it's just a market where one of your team members move to and you'd love to open up shop where they are because they're really good and you don't want to lose them. Then there's service line extension, getting into new skilled disciplines. And this is something we see staffing companies do when there's really hot segments or when there's recessions. And this can be a great way to grow because you're getting into skills that you don't currently service, which expands your potential market. I will tell you also, it's one of the highest risk ways to grow because you're going to be competing against people who are already good at recruiting in those skill disciplines. And unless you're acquiring a company or acquiring recruiters or somehow building expertise quickly in those skill disciplines, it may take you a long time to get good and really be an effective competitor. How about vertical integration, moving up the value chain? So today, if all you do is traditional temporary staffing, well, maybe you start providing on-sites. And then you get into more potentially outsourcing, either recruitment process outsourcing or a staffing outsourcing, or getting into MSP services or providing VMS technology. Maybe you get into more forms of HR consulting. So you can think about, how can I deliver more value to my clients by taking a higher level role in helping them manage their people or talent related challenges. And that can lead to new ways to grow your business and differentiate your services. And mergers and acquisitions, let's buy other companies, whether they're direct competitors or complementary businesses that you want to get into. I remember talking to a company years ago in St. Louis. They did M&A where they bought 5 other companies. So they owned 6 staffing firms in the same market that did the same thing, but they didn't consolidate the brand. They kept all 6 business units independent with the goal of having them compete with one another, so that when employers in the market said, hey, we're going to work with 3 or 4 staffing companies, this organization wanted one of their portfolio companies to be every one of those 4 or 5 staffing companies the employer was going to work with. Really clever strategy. But mergers and acquisitions has been very hot in the industry over the recent years. Usually in a downturn, people want to buy. Other people don't want to sell. If if you're a buyer, this is a time to look to people who've had enough of ups and downs in the industry. Maybe you can get a company at a great price. If you're looking to sell, this is where you really want to build your differentiation and try to increase the multiple you're going to get on the sale. And then how about partnering? I don't see a lot of this in the staffing industry, but what about other vendors to your clients who already have relationships because they sell complementary services? Maybe it's HR consulting. Maybe it's technology that they provide. Maybe it's something else that they're providing to human resources, or if you're not selling to human resources, to that specific department. We see it in IT all the time where there are tier one consulting companies that come and manage a giant technology project, and then they pull in the tier two contract staffing suppliers to provide all the people needed for the tier one project work. So who are the potential partners who could bring you into your clients? For some staffing companies, that eliminates the need to sell. For other staffing companies, they don't like that because usually they're getting less margin when working with a partner like that. But there may be partners who don't demand any of your margin. They just already have access to the people you want to sell to, and you may have access to people they want to sell to. So it's just a win-win scenario. So these are not all the different strategies for growth, but I wanted to highlight these just to get you thinking today about there's a lot of ways to grow in 2021 and beyond. And as we get back to marketing, which we're going to do in a minute, the strategies you pick for marketing are really dependent on your growth strategies. So I said it before, repeat it. When it comes to your marketing, one size doesn't fit all. We really want to make sure we're matching strategies for business to strategies for marketing, and strategies for marketing also to the sales and recruiting capabilities of your business. For example, when we get to content marketing, we see lots of companies now want to be doing content marketing, and they love to send information that maybe that's very strategic about using staffing, but then their sales force hasn't been trained to sell strategically, to ask questions about the economic value of staffing. And you really need to match your marketing to your capabilities as well as to your business growth strategies. Okay, so let's talk about marketing. How are we going to help you build better marketing strategies in 2021? Well, not surprising, before we get into marketing, we need to know what you want to accomplish. What are your goals? So with goal setting, this isn't going to be a whole workshop on goal setting. We're just going to do a little bit, but everybody's heard of the acronym SMART goals: specific, measurable, relevant. The goal matches what you're trying to do as a business, your long-term objectives. Achievable, it's something that you can actually accomplish. And it's time bound. Sorry, I did the A and the R out of order there. But the idea is we're creating goals that are really well defined. We know what we're trying to accomplish. We know how we'll measure it, know when we want to get it done by. So anybody on the team knows what you're trying to get done. That's a SMART goal. At Haley Marketing, we use something to run our company called Entrepreneurial Operating System. And in EOS, they do something for goal setting, so still based on SMART goals, but they use different time frames. They start with something called a BHAG. So for those of you who've never heard of a BHAG, it's a big, hairy, audacious goal. And it's a 10-year objective where your purpose is to think big. There's a famous Bill Gates quote which says that most people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 10. So the purpose of a BHAG is to get you thinking big about what you want to be in 10 years. And that can be from a business perspective. It can also be from a personal perspective. If you're in sales, you're in recruiting, 10 years from now, what do you want to be doing? Where do you want to be? You want to own your own business. You want to be the head of a big team in your organization. You want to be known as the top recruiter or salesperson in your industry. What's your personal BHAG? And that's that giant 10-year goal. Then you break it down. What are the strategic goals? Where do we need to be 3 years from now so that we're on pace to hit that 10-year objective, but what do we need to accomplish within the next 3 years? And then that breaks down to what's our business plan? What are we going to do in the next 12 months? So you should already have your 2021 goals set. What are we trying to accomplish? Hopefully they're SMART. I know I've talked to a lot of staffing executives where I'll ask them about their objectives for the year and I'll get goals that aren't great. We'll talk about that, what I mean by that in just a second. But before we get to that, one of the point about goals is understanding your why. This is my take on Simon Sinek. So Simon Sinek talks about businesses understanding why they do things and how your why, your purpose, the reason you exist, why that compelling story is really great for marketing. It's great for growing your organization. But I think it's also great for goal setting. Because if you think about setting goals, maybe it's a financial target. Maybe it's like a New Year's resolution. I want to lose so much weight. If you set a goal without a why, it's just a number on the wall. It doesn't have meaning. But when you define the why is this goal important? And I heard a great example of this just a few weeks ago, and it was a blog post I was reading about New Year's resolutions, and the author was talking about, the common person will say, I want to lose 10 pounds this year, or 20 pounds, whatever the number. And the author was saying, met someone who said that, and he asked the person, why do you want to lose the weight? This individual said, I just want to be more fit. And the author could say that probably wasn't the real why. So just kept pushing. Well, why do you want to get more fit? What's so important to that about you? And through a back and forth dialogue, the person who wanted to lose the weight said, because my father died very young, and I want to live to see my kids grow up. That's a powerful why. Understanding your purpose for achieving a goal does so much to helping you achieve it. It provides personal motivation. It can provide vision for your team, especially if it's a great purpose of the value you're adding to the world. It helps your organization make the bold moves that you need to make to achieve your 3 and 10-year objectives. It also helps you make better decisions, because if things come in and they don't match with your why, it's much easier to say no. Also, when it comes to setting goals, you want to ask yourself, is achieving our objectives, is it a sales problem, a recruiting problem, or a bit of both? I know a lot of staffing companies at the end of last summer, particularly those in lower level industrial roles, not so much for friends in hospitality, they just didn't have the job orders, but we saw clients with a ton of job orders, but they couldn't get them filled. And we're still seeing a lot of that today. So is that a sales problem or a recruiting problem? Your gut's going to be to say it's a recruiting problem because we don't have people to fill the open orders. I might argue it's a bit of both, because if you have candidates you're getting in, you're not placing, you need more job orders to place every placeable candidate that comes through your doors. Then you also need a recruitment marketing strategy to get more qualified talent coming to you to fill those job orders. And lastly, about goal setting, I mentioned earlier, there's a problem with goals, and that's that people are often not very specific about what they want to accomplish. Particularly a lot of owners in this industry. We'll ask them, what do you want to accomplish this year? And it'll be a vague, well, I want to grow. Well, how much? They don't know. Or they'll throw out some 30%. Why 30%? They haven't defined it. Be very specific about what you want to accomplish. It's not just increasing sales, but I want to add $2 million in top line revenue. Then define why that's important. I want to open a new branch and get that new branch to a $500,000 run rate. I want to increase sales from existing clients by 10%. You're being really specific about the dollar value, the time frame, and the methodology for accomplishing the goals. And the more concrete you are about how you're going to do things when setting goals, the easier it is to then plan out that path to success. And very likely, if you have a goal like I want to add $2 million in top line revenue, you may say that's going to break down to I want this much from new clients, I want this much from existing clients, I want this much from new services. So lots of different ways to break down the goals. And that's really the last part about goal setting, is to break it down. For example, if I've got sales dollars or gross margin dollars, what are we going to count? And then how many placements do we have to make on average to hit that target? How many job orders do we need to fill on average to hit that goal? Based on what a client typically does with us, how many new clients would it be? Or what percentage increase do we need from existing clients? And when you break goals down, even though it's not a perfect science to say we need 20 new clients, it's far easier for the people in your organization to understand we need 20 new clients than we need $2 million. I mean, $2 million is an easy number to understand, but it's hard to make it tangible. It's easy on the wall to see we need 20 new clients, and I put an X up every time we get a new client. Now, maybe that client was a really small one. Maybe the next one was a giant one. You use your average client to figure out how many you need. Same thing with number of placements or job orders. You all have averages from your own history that would allow you to figure out What do you need to close in order to hit your goals? All right, we're done with goal setting. It's time to get to the fun stuff. Let's talk step 2, marketing strategies. So when it comes to marketing, just like we had lots of growth strategies, there's lots of marketing strategies. And this is not a comprehensive list. These are just many of the ones we see most commonly used, some of the best ones to be used in staffing. We're going to talk about all of them in more detail. So I'm just going to run through the list first. Integrated direct marketing, integrating marketing with sales. Account-based marketing, which is a subset of integrated direct marketing, targeting very specific clients. Event marketing, got a great example of that we'll share in just a minute. Content and inbound marketing. Am I positioning my organization as experts, as thought leaders through content we create? Am I generating inbound sales leads through the information that is made available for other people to find? So we often refer to this as the art of selling without selling. And then there's a subset of content and inbound marketing called pillar content marketing, which we'll show you an example of in just a little bit. And the last one on the list for today's talk is influencer marketing, which is something we've all done. How do I get more referrals? Well, this is more about building a marketing strategy around referrals through working with sources and people of influence. All right, so let's look at integrated direct marketing, or IDM. How does it work? So first thing you do with integrated direct marketing is you're picking who you want to go after, your ideal target clients. And the whole purpose for an IDM campaign is to be strategic about your prospecting. So when I was active in my parents' staffing business, I remember listening to salespeople talk about their weekly calls. And their weekly call plan was based more on the geography of where they're going to be than on the strategy of who they want to talk to. Maybe they'd have one key company to target an area, and then they do drop-bys. That's fine. But they really weren't building a list of these are our A-plus prospects. These are our A's. These are our B's. These are our C's. I know a lot of staffing companies do segment their prospects that way, but you want it for integrated direct marketing, you're going to pick your A's and B's. When we get to account-based marketing, those are going to be your A-pluses. And then what we create is a multi-step, multi-channel direct marketing campaign. It's a planned sequence of activities. Now, the pictures on the screen show some direct mail campaigns. It doesn't have to be direct mail. It doesn't have to be email. It doesn't have to be social. Ideally, you're mixing up different channels of communication into a planned sequence of steps. So why do we do that? Number one, the planned sequence of steps. What that does is it shows your salespeople exactly how you're going to go after prospects. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And it shows them what happens at each point in the process, what the intent is of each step in the process, and most importantly, when they need to pick up the phone to follow up. It's using multiple channels of communication because the people you're reaching out to, you don't know how you're going to best reach them. Some people will respond to email. It's becoming less and less. Some people will respond to your LinkedIn outreach. Some people will respond to phone calls. Some people will respond to packages delivered via FedEx. So we don't know how people are going to respond. So we want to use every way we can think of to get someone's attention. And with integrated direct marketing, we use a model called AIDA, A-I-D-A. So that's another one of those marketing school or creative program 101 classes where they teach you how to do 4 things. The first letter in the acronym A is grabbing people's attention. So the people you're calling on, none of them are sitting at their desk thinking, boy, I want to talk about staffing today. They're thinking, I've got whatever projects to get done. I've got 200 emails that came in. I've got deadlines I need to hit. I've got meetings I have to go to. I'm stressed. How am I going to get it done? Oh, yeah, and I can't stand one more Zoom call. You have to break through all of that. So the A in AIDA is how do I get someone's attention? That donkey in a box holding a sign that says, because hiring is a pain in the ass, it's probably going to make you smile. You're going to think it's silly. That's okay. That's a good way to get someone's attention. The box on the top from FlexiCrew. You're not going to throw a box in the garbage unopened to get your attention. Multi-step postcard campaigns can get your attention. It doesn't have to be all mail. something you send via a FedEx or express mail envelope, something that gets dropped off, not with the purpose of having a meeting right then and there, but just drop it off for them to open. I think it's very hard to do to get attention when your initial outreach is all digital, because you're just competing with so much noise. The mail that you use, my analogy for that is it's become the express lane at the supermarket. There's not many people using that channel because they perceive it's old, they perceive it's slow, they perceive it's expensive. But your cost to get the eyeballs, the attention of a prospect is far lower with that channel than just about any other. All right, so that's the A in ADA. Then there's the I, which is interest. I want to get someone's interest in my knowledge, my ability to solve a problem. And the analogy I'll use here is, think about racing down a divided highway. So you're traveling 65, 70, maybe more miles an hour. You're in the southbound lane and there's an accident in the northbound lane. It's a divided highway. It's not your lane. But your lane comes to screeching halt. You're down to a slow crawl, even though there's no obstacles in your lane. What happened? Well, we all know. Everybody in your lane wanted to see what happened in the northbound lane. So we're all rubbernecking. And that slows down traffic. That rubbernecking is because our eyes are attracted to the crash. It's kind of a nasty trait we have as humans, but we are predisposed to pay attention to problems, to negative things. That's why the national news is so depressing, because if it was all happy, you wouldn't watch. So when we want to get someone's interest, we usually want to pique their curiosity about a problem they have. Not that you're selling your solutions right away, but a problem they have related to talent. Maybe it's the inability to get people to stay on the job. Maybe it's the frustrations with remote management. Maybe it's not really knowing the uncertainty they have about remote hiring. So you want to think about, what would my target audience find very interesting? What problems do they have? Because if I can share information about those problems, that's going to get their interest. So very often when we do integrated direct marketing, the A and the I can be that very first piece, that attention grabber that breaks through the clutter and then captures their interest in, you've got a problem that you need solving, we're here to help. Then you go to the D, which is desire, and that's, you want that prospect to want to talk to you. So somewhere in that integrated direct marketing campaign, that sequence of touches, you're demonstrating your competence. You're demonstrating your specific knowledge. You're illustrating the problems you can solve. So that person sees you as an expert. They see you as someone they can trust. Those repeated touches help build familiarity, which makes people like you more because they become familiar with you, and makes people trust you more. And the D is the desire, so that when you pick up the phone, you've warmed the prospect. They're positively predisposed to wanting to speak with you. And then the final A in the acronym of ADA is action, getting people to take the meeting. The sale you're making in your marketing is not staffing services. The sale you're making is to get the meeting, get the attention, and get the time of the person you want to talk to. That's your marketing's goal, is to make that sale. The combination of mail, email, LinkedIn outreach, and your sales team picking up the phone is what increases the probability of getting that appointment. Of course, staffing's not a one-call close. So after we finish the integrated direct marketing steps, we're going to go into something to nurture relationships, to stay top of mind. Email campaigns, calls, occasional direct mail. We want to think about ways to stay top of mind, reinforce our positioning, add value, build credibility, and make people want to work with us. It's not just about keep continuing to call and sell, 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 sell. That word nurture is used very intentionally. It's about nurturing relationships in a way that people find value in everything that you share with them. It's all about creating a process. And the process, this is where you show your team, here's the steps we're going to go through. Well, we've got this one. They're going to send a mailing. We're going to send a mailing. We're going to call. We're going to connect on LinkedIn. We're going to send another mailing. We're going to send an email. We're going to call again. And we're going to actually drive people to a landing page, which sort of gets into our pillar content marketing that we'll talk about later. We're going to drive people to the website where they can take action. This is an example. If you listen to many of the sales consultants in the industry, Tom or Mike Jackatote, they're going to tell you your integrated direct marketing process should be 12 to 16 steps. A lot of times we'll shorten the process using that attention grabbing mail so that we don't need quite as many email outreaches as we might if we're using a longer process. We don't need as many phone call steps in the process, so your sales team stays really focused on your top prospects. And as I said before, don't rely on digital only communication. It can be done, but it's not going to get a very high response rate compared to when you integrate something physical into the process along with the digital. Okay, then there is next account-based marketing. I said this is a subset of the integrated direct marketing. So it's integrated direct marketing applied to one company. We're going to try to target multiple decision makers, typically at multiple levels in the organization and potentially coming from multiple people in your organization. We're tailoring the content, the message we're delivering to that specific company based on research that we've done. We're really, this is where your sales call planning comes into play. We want to go deep before we send any of the marketing. So a quick story, client of ours is actually our second client ever for Haley Marketing, client up in Minnesota. And I remember them telling me that they had been trying to break into this manufacturing facility that manufactured ammunition. They made bullets. And it was a facility where they had no luck breaking in. That company had an on-site already. They had no response to any of their marketing. So we went and did research. And what we found was that company had recently been acquired by a really big conglomerate from the South. And they were coming up to Minnesota. They were in the sporting goods industry, and they wanted to have an ammunition manufacturer. So this conglomeration had bought this entity. And then we dug further to say, well, who would be in charge of talent solutions? Okay, it was the 90s, so who'd be in charge of temp help solutions in this organization? And what we found through our research was this giant company actually was really a holding company, and there were a total of 4 people. There were 2 administrative people, a financial person, and the president. So we got to target the president. How are we going to target the president? So we did research into the organization. We read their website. We understood their company's core values. And we put together a 3-step integrated direct marketing campaign. Step 1, we put together a really nice gift basket of products native to the state of Minnesota. Nothing about staffing. Just, it was a welcome basket. Welcome to the state. We're so excited you're coming. It's a great place to live. It's a great place for families. We're happy to have you in the community. Then we followed up with the interest piece, which was a detailed article on strategic staffing, how to use staffing more intelligently to control costs, improve productivity, ensure product delivery, manage risk. And then we had the D piece, the desire, which was information all about the specific staffing company's capabilities. Well, we never even got to the D piece in the campaign. After the I piece, the president of the company called the president of our client and said, hey, thank you so much for the goodie basket. My kid loved the candy. I love the book on the state. It's a beautiful state. I put it on my bookshelf in my office, and I'm really intrigued by this concept of strategic staffing. I don't know a lot about staffing. I'd love to meet with you after we complete the acquisition. That's account-based marketing. Now, it was done in this case with a 4-person team they were targeting, but if it had been a 4,000-person team, then they probably would have been targeting HR, certain line managers, certain department heads. Again, tailoring the marketing message very specifically to their knowledge about that organization into an integrated process. You might say, geez, David, that sounds really expensive and time-consuming to put together. It wasn't hugely expensive. It was about $400 to put together the materials. There was a cost to Haley Marketing to design some stuff. But to get an on-site at a 900-person facility is worth the investment. For you, for account-based marketing, I said these are your A-plus prospects. You don't need to outsource putting together the campaign, but you do need to think through what can I really do to execute ADA, get the attention, interest, and desire of the key prospects in that specific organization based on my knowledge of that company. So I just did a Google for this presentation. I found this cool graphic that sort of shows the difference between traditional lead generation, which is, and again, this isn't for staffing, this is all industries, which is generate broad awareness through your advertising, your promotion, try to get people into your sales funnel where you can nurture and engage them further. And content marketing this is very much the funnel for content marketing. Identify the high value accounts who have interacted with you, turn it over to the sales team to convert. And this is the traditional funnel, probably the funnel most of you are using today, except you're starting about at identify high value accounts. Account-based marketing flips it on its head. We start by identifying who we want to go after. How do we engage and nurture those people? And actually, whoever made this graphic, I would have flipped it because I think we have to figure out how to engage them, attention and interest, and then nurture them, the desire. Then we convert them, and then we try to build long-term relationships at as many different points in the organization as we can so we never lose that client. All right, let's move on to event marketing. Conferences and trade shows or events you create. Okay, so I bet a lot of people have seen an event coming up tomorrow. This event called the World Staffing Summit. I'm an attendee. I'm excited about it. Looks to be like great content. I'm seeing people I know all over LinkedIn promoting that they're going. Here's the thing. This event never existed before. If you dig into the site, or if you actually look at the logo in the upper left corner, you see it says event by Gustav. What's a Gustav? I had never heard of it. I mean, it's a company. It's a company that created this event. The events should have tremendous value for attendees, but they created it to essentially get a list of everybody who's who in the staffing industry, to instantly position their brand with a high level of credibility. It's a brilliant marketing strategy for a company that probably no one had heard of prior to this event. I've been in the staffing industry a long time. I don't know who Gustav was. Now they're in my LinkedIn feed every time I look because of this event. So this is an example of an event they created, and you can do the same thing. What kind of events would your clients want to be part of? Right now, you're participating in a Haley marketing event. Lunch with Haley is an event we created in 2008, and we've been doing it monthly. This will be our 13th year of Lunch with Haley as a way to share good ideas, nurture relationships, and over time, hopefully, demonstrate to people, hey, we're worth spending some time talking to. So if you're going to do event marketing, what you want to think about is 3 levels of how you market. First is, where are the events themselves? Am I going to somebody else's event, or am I creating my own? And then depending on which of those you've chosen, now I have to think about pre-show, at-show, and post-show marketing. Pre-show is I've got to get people's attention before they go to the event. Now, if it's an event you're creating, you got to get them to attend. If it's an event you're going to, somebody else is getting people to attend. You're essentially buying access to their audience, but I got to get their attention. And if I wait to show up and then say, hey, my sales team, we've got a booth, we're good enough. No, you're not. Once you show up, too many people have already made a decision about who they're going to talk to. You're too late. So I got to get on people's calendar much earlier with direct mail, email, pay-per-click advertising, calling people, connecting with influencers and social media. So I'm making people want to talk to me. And that same ADA model applies to my pre-show marketing, but now I want them to have a desire to take the action of visiting me at the show. At show, you got to decide how you're going to show up. Are you just going to attend the event? Are you going to be an exhibitor, a sponsor? Best of all, be a speaker. And are you going to have your own events while at the conference? Maybe you'll host a dinner or a breakout session at private meeting rooms. Or maybe your team will get very busy on social media. You can hijack events using the hashtags of the show as you share your own content throughout the course of the show. We did that this year at Staffing World. It was a virtual event. And for those of you who went, you may have seen they had a media wall where they were showing all the social media engagement with the hashtag Staffing World. And at one point, I went to look at it with my little virtual avatar. The entire wall were people at Haley Marketing, because our team was sharing content, hashtagging the show, so that while we were there, we were doing our best to dominate social media at show. And then after the show, it's follow up. I don't remember the exact percentage. It's something like 60% of trade show leads, no one follows up. You need a plan to follow up by phone first, email, mail, having private events for the people who met with you, whatever it takes to continue to engage those people. Most people who visit you at the booth are much more interested in buying while they're at their booth than when they get back to the office. So you got to get back to them as quickly as you can to stay on their agenda. All right, let's move on to content and inbound marketing. So we're going to create content. That's the bait that attracts people. Could be blogs, webinars, videos, podcasts. We're going to share the content. We have to get the content found. Do it on your website. You can email it to people. You can share it on social media. You can share it on third-party sites. And then we have to think about a conversion path. How do we get people to take action? How do we drive them to an appropriate landing page? How do we have calls to action on our website to get people to take the right actions? How do we use advertising to stay top of mind with people? And so this diagram that you see sort of illustrates the process. The bait is what brings people into your sales funnel. At the top of the funnel, they're just soft leads. They're not ready to buy anything. In marketing speak, we call those MQLs, marketing qualified leads. They like your information. They're interested in your expertise. We continue to nurture them to drive them down the funnel to get them to be that teal layer of a prospect. Now they're an SQL, a sales qualified lead. And we've done something to get them to hold their hand up and say, tell me about what you do. I want to know more about your staffing and recruiting services. Now, when you're doing the integrated direct marketing, you see that arrow from the side. We're trying to drive people right to the middle of the funnel. And then, of course, our sales team takes over and lead nurturing goes in place, and we drive people to getting an estimate, closing the deal, and buying our services. Now, a subset of content and inbound marketing is something called pillar content marketing. And here we create a big piece of content, the pillar. Maybe it's a salary survey. Maybe it's an ebook. Maybe it's a webinar or video that you produce. But something people in your audience would find highly valuable. Something that's going to take some work to put together. You're going to spend some time, effort, money creating something really good. Then I take that pillar and I promote it on my website. And I promote it on a landing page, a dedicated page where people can get that piece of content. They can sign up for the webinar. They can watch the video. But they have to give me something in exchange, their contact information. I also want to take that big piece of content and break it down. Let's turn it into a series of blog posts that we share on our website, we share on social media. And let's take all those blog posts, every one of those, and break it down into a bunch of short, single bullet social graphics. So now out of that one big piece of content, we've created multiple blogs and potentially dozens of pieces of content for social media. Now we start sharing all of these small pieces of content on social, driving everybody back to the landing page. And the idea to pillar marketing, it's the same as content and inbound. I'm going to create really good content that attracts people. I'm going to promote the content in a way that gets found. The only difference with pillar is just the strategy for the specific kind of content. Here we're doing one big thing and breaking it down. A lot of our clients using our Haley Mail service, we do a new pillar every 90 days. So a big piece of content that we then break down into smaller articles each month in the quarter. We break them down into social graphics. We have a landing page that goes with it. The idea being you're leveraging the big piece of content to drive more inbound response. But even if you're using it in sales, let's say you're doing integrated direct marketing, you could have this pillar piece of content be that big piece of content you send out to get someone's interest, to get their attention and interest. It could be something your sales team puts in every email signature to try to drive people back to your website to turn just regular communication into more engaged clients and prospects. All right, we're going to switch gears to our last form of marketing on the client side, which is influencer marketing. So influencer marketing, big on social media right now, finding people that already have access, an audience with the people you want to reach. Influencer marketing is also about content creation. It's very much related to content and inbound marketing. It can be the exact same content. It might be content you create in conjunction with an influencer. You're kind of co-promoting your brands. Great if you had a guest on a podcast, and then that podcast guest is someone really well known. Well, they promote the fact that they're a guest. You promote it. They're driving traffic to your podcast. Now we got to get the influencers to share the content too. Will they post it on their websites and build some inbound links back to yours? Will they email the content to their clients and prospects? Will they share the content on social media? This is like cooperative marketing. You and the influencer or influencer audiences are working together to your mutual benefit to create and share content. It benefits you because it gets a lot more people to your website. It benefits the influencer because it helps build their brand. Now we see on Instagram a different type of influencer marketing where there are people who just have huge followings, and companies can pay those individuals anywhere from $20 to thousands of dollars just to have a mention of their product. It is a pay-to-play field. I don't see that being very effective in staffing. If you were selling a fashion brand, that's absolutely something you'd look at. But in staffing, your influencers are going to be people in your local community who are known to other HR professionals. Maybe they're HR consultants. Maybe they're business consultants. Maybe they're leaders of the local SHRM chapter. Make friends with them. Build relationships with them. Jointly produce content with them. And then promote that content to your audience and their audience. Ultimately, with influencer marketing, we're trying to drive people back to our websites through the content that gets shared. People connected to the influencer find your content, then they're brought to your website to read or watch that content and engage with your brand. And once they're on your site, you have a lot more control over what you can ask them to do next. So just in a diagram, it goes to you, you're producing the content, the influencer gets to share it, and you get that expanded reach. You might know a few influencers. Your influencers each have a big audience. So collectively, you now have gained access to this huge audience by partnering with others for content distribution. All right, we have 15 minutes left. And we're going to take a little bit of that time to talk about the other side of the coin, recruitment marketing and recruitment marketing strategy. And those of you who have been through our 4 pillars of recruitment marketing, those are the strategies we're going to talk about today. The 4 primary ways to drive recruiting, talent attraction through your career site, your staffing website, and the career portal on your site, making sure that it's optimized. The way you approach job advertising, what you're doing on social media for recruiting, and finally, your employment brand and how you're controlling what's said about you online. All right, let's take a look at each one of those in a little bit of detail. Career site optimization. So there's 4 things that we want to do when we're optimizing a career site. Attract people. It's going to sound like that ADA model. We have to get people to your website. And once we get them to your website, then you have to get them from the home page to your jobs, to your career portal. Or you have to get them directly to the jobs based on what you're sharing online. You can think of, when we get to social recruiting, it's very much like content and inbound marketing for recruiting. But we have to attract people to maximize traffic to your site. We have to engage them. Getting someone to your site isn't enough. We got to get them engaged and get them to your jobs. We got to get them engaged enough with the jobs till they want to apply. That's the conversion. We have to make the conversion path as short and easy as possible so we have minimal loss of people who hit your website and leave without applying to a job or somehow contacting you. And we ought to re-engage people because one of the things we learned, Matt Lozer, our director of recruitment marketing, did a study a few years ago, and he looked at people applying to jobs. And one of the things he found is that a candidate coming back to your website a second time is 2 times as likely to apply to a job. So you spend all this money on Indeed, ZipRecruiter, job advertising. You get all these first-time candidates to your website, but you don't do anything to bring them back a second time. And it's way cheaper to bring them back a second time. But yet they're twice as likely to actually apply to a job the second time and the third time and the fourth time. So we got to think about ways to re-engage, tools like email, texting, retargeting ads to get people to come back. All right, let's take a look at each of these in a little bit of detail. On the career site, when we think about engaging with people and attracting them is going to be search engine optimization. It's going to be pay-per-click advertising. It's going to be email marketing to the people in my talent pool already. It's going to be texting. I got to give people a reason to come to my site. Could be specific jobs. Could be dealing with the frustration over their current job. Could be sign up for a job agent. But I got to give them a reason to come to me. When they get to the site, I have to engage. I put up this picture of a website because I like this example. When you get to the homepage, right away there's a search jobs widget. I can look immediately. There's also a chat bot. First question. His response is, I'm looking for a job. So this company, Workforce Unlimited, is doing a lot right here to try to engage people right away and get them to the jobs as soon as possible because most candidates, that's the number 1 reason they're coming to your website. On the conversion, you want to look at how people apply. How fast can you get someone's email address and resume? So many of the ATSs still have really long application procedures, long forms. And we see up to a 95% abandonment rate on long forms. And so, yes, I know you need that data in your ATS. I know you don't want your people having to do data entry, but you want to make sure that you get the candidate's information as your primary goal. Then once you have that, try to get the candidate to complete the rest of the paperwork. All right, and I mentioned the re-engagement. People should be able to opt in for job alerts. If you're using Haley Marketing's career portal software, you should be able to set up automatic re-engagement emails, category mailings that invite people to look at jobs or send in referrals based on jobs that they are interested in or qualified for. You want to use text messaging, whether you're using a text them all kind of a platform or you're using a Sense or a Herefish, but I want to make sure I'm keeping my audience engaged to bring them back to my website over and over and over again. And then advertising. Once somebody leaves your site, we're going to make ads follow them all over social media, follow them all over Google's advertising network to give people a reason to come to our site again and again and again. Job advertising, there's 3 things to think about here. The job boards themselves. What are the right boards for you to spend money on? For most of our clients, the lowest cost place to advertise tends to be Indeed and ZipRecruiter. No matter what you're feeling about the job boards, they produce the most candidates, usually at the lowest cost per candidate. Now, it's not 100% true, but generally speaking, it holds true. However, they don't help you manage your budget wisely. They help you spend your budget. And that's where programmatic comes in. Programmatic is all about managing that spend more efficiently. So that with traditional advertising, it's like post and pray. Now I'm trying to use software to say, stop spending when we don't need any more candidates and shift the spend to where we do need it. Let's adjust our bidding strategy based on how badly we need the candidate. Let's make sure we're eliminating limiting our total spend and eliminating overspend on any individual job. We're seeing our clients who are being told sometimes by the job boards, hey, you need to have 50, 60, 80% increase in your spend to maintain your visibility. We're saying, no, you don't. You need to manage the spend. A company in Ohio, we were able to reduce their spend and almost triple the number of job applications using programmatic. Programmatic is all about setting rules to control how you're spending so you're just managing the money better. A human can't do it. The software, the programmatic software, where you set the rules, does that instantaneously to help you get better results. And the last type of advertising is just social. Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads. Are we paying to advertise on social media? For some job categories, it's very worthwhile. A lot of times you're going to find it attracts different types of candidates than you get from Indeed and ZipRecruiter. So you're going to find one type of candidate through LinkedIn, another through Facebook, and another through job boards. And you may need to advertise in all of them. They're all going to come with different costs per candidate, but you can see for yourself in measuring the data which boards produce a decent ROI, and you may continue to invest in all of them as long as all of them are producing a good return on investment. With social recruiting, we're looking at 2 strategies. How do we attract active job seekers and passive job seekers? And this is about creating content. As I mentioned, this is content and inbound marketing. With active job seekers, it's about finding a better job. It's about positions you're hiring for. You're really selling a better job, better pay rate, specific opportunity, maybe even specific clients you're working with, but you're going after people who are looking for work. With passive job seekers, they're on social media. They're not thinking about job hunting. So just like that ADA model, how do we get their attention when they're racing through their news feed? What videos, slide shares, or carousels, what static images do we put up? What topics do we talk about that get people's attention? Are we going to use live video great on LinkedIn and Facebook? Are we going to use stories? All of them have stories now. Series of pictures together to tell a tale. Are we going to use these tools to create that engagement with someone who's not thinking about a new job, but maybe they're unhappy with their boss? Maybe they're afraid because COVID's not being taken seriously enough in their workplace. Maybe they're just dealing with struggles with childcare. Maybe they just want to improve their lives and get a better job. So think about all the reasons that a passive job seeker might become active, and that's the kind of content you create with a social recruiting strategy. And finally, we've got employment branding, which is thinking about your EVP or your employee value proposition. And when I go to your website, do I see a message right away that tells me who you are, what you do, and why, as a job seeker, I want to work with you? This company, Remedy, it's their offices in Wisconsin, local personalized approach and industry-leading national provider. They're kind of showing we're the best of both worlds if you're looking for help with a job. So think about what's the message, and think about it like a billboard. If you're racing down the highway, what message about your company is going to resonate with your ideal candidates? That's the message that's got to come out of your website. It's got to come out of your social media. It's got to come out of your email marketing. It's got to be what your brand is all about. It's also got to be how you live. If it's about being the best service experience for the candidates, well, did you define your process to be the best service experience? Are people trained and measured on delivering that service experience? We want to think about the value proposition. What is the unique value we're providing to a candidate so they want to work for us more than anybody else? And then we have to control our online reputation. Getting people to say nice things about us, to leave reviews. There's been some great research done. This is one about Glassdoor data that shows based on how many star reviews you get, what's going to happen to your applications. And you can see the higher the ratings, the exception of that 4 to 4.5, where it drops a little bit, you get more applies at 3+, dramatically more than when you're below 3. There's a little bit better at being 4.5 to 5, but not dramatically better than being 3.5 to 4. So if you're 2.5, you got to improve. If you're 3.0, you want to get to 3.5 to 4. If you're 3.5 to 4, I don't think you really want to go down. I would rather be in that bucket from 4.0 to 4.5. I think that's a bit of an anomaly in the data. But the point is, are you proactively getting people to leave online reviews? Are you getting testimonials? Are you building social proof that demonstrates we're a great staffing company? We're a reliable staffing company. We treat people better. We give people access to better jobs, a wider range of jobs. We're an organization that you want to trust with managing your career. Okay, so we just spent an hour talking together about goals and strategy, and it was a lot to cover. If you need help, one of the things that we do, and this is the complimentary service, is we love to help people put together roadmaps for their marketing. And with a roadmap, we work with you to take a look at your goals, and we'll challenge you on your SMART goals. And then we look at what you're doing today: sales strategy, marketing strategy, recruiting strategy. We'll talk with you about your growth strategies. We'll talk with you about the items we had on screen today and a few others that we didn't include in today's presentation to figure out how do you want to grow. Then we'll make recommendations as to the best ways you can look to implement a marketing strategy or a recruitment marketing strategy for your business. So as I mentioned, there's no cost to doing this. Just give us a ring, 888-696-2900, or shoot us an email at info@haleymarketing.com. And if there are any questions today, you can reach me at the same phone number or the same info address. You can ask them in the question box in GoToWebinar. And while we're wrapping up the last couple of minutes, I'll just put up our upcoming events. We've got our February calendar all set. So we are going to have our next webinar is going to be a guest webinar from our friends at Odell Studner. And they're going to be talking about how to get higher margins using risk management data and analytics. So going to be a really interesting chat, an area that I'm excited about because we don't have any expertise in risk management. And these guys have a lot of expertise, awesome organization. And they're going to show you how to improve how your business performs looking at your risk management data. And then our product demo next month, got some big surprises coming out, so I can't give those away till next month, but this product demo on branded content will be part of the big surprises. You will see some announcements about the big surprises in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. Lots more coming from Haley Marketing in February. From all of us at Haley Marketing, I want to thank you so much for being part of today's session. If you get a chance, please do the survey at the end. We'd love your feedback. And if we don't talk to you beforehand, we look forward to seeing you at our next Lunch with Haley event. Take care.